Hello, Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om. Starting a new round. Sometimes, from time to time, there is quite a wind here. I hope it won't make too much noise in the microphone. Now, usually, there would be the Deepam festival here. That means for 10 days, they're preparing. They're having very special functions in the temple. They take deities out of the temple and go round in the town, round the temple. Now, nothing of that happens, but they did make a concession that they can celebrate the festival, but only within the walls of the temple. So they will somehow walk with the deities within the walls, but they cannot, of course, they cannot, because they have a big car. And one time they are going around with a big car, old wooden, big, huge car. So they can use that. People are supposedly not to do pradakshina, not to go around the mountain. Still, some people do. But in the temple also, it will be very restricted. They let 500 people in, then they close, then they have to go out, and then a next batch of 500 people can go in. So it will be very special Deepam festival, but I guess at the end of the 10 days, it will still happen that they lit the fire on top of the mountain. Local news for those people who would like to come to Tiruvannamalai and can't. Okay, is there anybody who would like to come in? Please come in.
Hello, Werner. It's Kirsten from Copenhagen.
Hello, Kirsten.
Hi, good to see
Hello.
you. I have a question on practice.
Yes.
And it's about the balance of letting the practice come from inside and following certain, what can you say, rules, I would call it. Mm-hmm. So, for example, with my asana practice, several years ago, it started evolving from what you would call normal asanas into something that was more like some involuntary movements, and it felt very right.
Yes.
And I enjoyed it very much. It was very pleasant. But then on the other hand, for example, since the lockdown, I have every day after I do my prayers, I do the Satsang from the Bön tradition, which is it's very scheduled. So it's with 5 wins, it's 5 movements, you repeat it 5 times. And with that, I feel it has to be exactly how I learned it from the Lama.
Yeah.
But what happens now the last few weeks is after I always tune in with a little Om before I start. And then like involuntary, I start breathing into the second wind and doing the second movement. Then I stop it because I think, no, it has to start from here and down. So I just want to hear your take on that.
How long have you been doing those exercises now? Those 5?
I was introduced 10 years ago, but I was not regular until since the lockdown. I have been doing it every day. Yeah.
But it's not that since 10 years, day after day after day, you did these exercises.
No, only for the last half year. Mm-hmm. Before I was, on and off more like examining what it was, but then returning to some other practice.
Yeah, it depends how you feel about it. Because if you start to improvise and you feel good about it, then it's okay. But if you start to improvise and then in the back of your mind there is always that voice that says, no, 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 that's not good, that's not good, you should do it differently, then you better do it the way you were taught. I mean, one can. These exercises that are being taught, after all, somebody also produced them once. And then they have been tried and maybe changed over the years. The good thing is that they have been tried and basically were found to be worth to do, but still, theoretically, basically, I think it's perfectly all right that you start to improvise with whatever you are doing, that you not follow strict laid down rules forever and ever, but simply if you really feel good about it, if you really feel, yes, that's good, that's really right to do for me now like this. If you just for the fun of it try to improvise, but then all the time you feel a bit guilty about it and think, oh, maybe it's not so good, maybe something bad can happen. If I'm not doing it right, maybe I'm getting punished if I'm not doing it right. Then it's better you follow the rules to the letter until you are ready, that it really comes from your heart, that you feel, okay, now I can really do them the way I feel is really good for me. And that may be slightly different from what they have been taught. So you have to have a good look at yourself and decide. I'm not going to tell you, oh, you can do like this or you should do like that. If you feel very familiar with those exercises now and you can also feel them energetically when you do them, not simply do the form of it, but you feel them energetically, and then you feel really comfortable to make some changes and feel good about it, then there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But you have to be sure, not all the time think, oh, maybe it's not good, maybe it's not good. Then you better follow them until you are ready, that you can, without a doubt, say, okay, it's fine. I can use them as a base and then sort of create my own exercise out of it.
Yeah, I get the point.
Yeah. What we do in the mind is very important when we do the exercises. And if we feel it's right what we are doing, then it's right. But if we feel it's not right, there's maybe I'm doing something wrong, and there's the fear of maybe something bad can come out of it, then one gives a negative impulse into it that can have negative manifestations.
Yeah. I can really relate to that answer, because when it happened to me with the traditional yoga asanas, it just felt so right.
Yeah.
I had been practicing them for 30, 40 years, but now with this salon, I mean, I still carry a lot from the traditional Indian yoga asanas into it, and it feels very strong to do it, but I don't have the same integration.
Yeah.
So I'll stick to the schedule, I think, until it dissolves totally.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Werner.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Hari Om. Is there anybody else who want to come? Please come.
Hello, Werner.
Hello. Yes, I can see you.
Mariano from Argentina.
Sorry?
Can you see?
Yeah, I can
It's
see you.
Mariano from Argentina. How
Oh,
are you?
you are Mariano. Yes, hello.
How are you?
Quite fine. I've seen
It's
you
been nice
before,
to
but
meet
it
you.
was all dark, so I couldn't see you
Yes,
so well.
because now it's like
Now I can
6.
see you well.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
it's summer now, so the sun is coming up earlier.
Oh, it's already light outside in your place?
Yes. It's 6:40.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's very early in the morning.
you're right.
Well, I wanted to thank you first of all for this Satsangs and this opportunity all Saturdays. So thank you very much, Werner.
Welcome.
And I wanted to ask you about the inner guru, this notion of inner guru.
Yeah.
And how can we develop confidence and a relation with this source of knowledge, of self-knowledge. I know it is said to be the self itself, but how can we develop a trust and a confidence and be in touch with that during the day and in the practice, obviously, but during the day also.
Right. It's the answer to the second part of your question is again somewhat the same like the answer last time.
Yes.
like you in your practice, you may practice something, you may practice a technique, you may practice this or that, but the main point while practicing is that what you are doing is a help that you connect, that you consciously connect with your inner self. And learn to relax in that. And the more you become familiar, the more then the trust also comes. Now, how to stay in touch with it during daytime when you do not your official practice, then can you still hear me? Because it told me once the connection is not good. Yeah, it's good. Okay.
It's not very good. It stopped, but now I can hear you well.
Okay. Find a way that when you are not doing your official practice, to remind yourself, and when you remember, to bring the attention back and learn to relax into that also, no matter what you are doing. Now, how can we develop the faith in that guidance? That is something that we have to slowly develop. It's usually not just coming like this. Because as long as things go well, then we think, oh yes, I'm guided well and everything seems to be fine. But as soon as things are not going so well, and there are difficulties in the external situation, and we confront difficulties with people, then the mind will start, maybe I made a mistake, maybe maybe something is wrong. But of course, then even if you are in touch with yourself, even if you are in touch with divinity, that doesn't mean after that life is simply everything always going very smoothly. We are here to learn, and we are here for confrontations, and sometimes a little difficulty is thrown into the path. Open your heart, that faith can grow. And when the mind starts to have doubt, when you start to question, is it right, is it wrong, what is wrong with me, why, maybe my connection is not good, maybe my guidance is wrong, then don't listen so much to the arguments that you are making in the mind, but try to feel in your heart. Because deep down, we always know. Because deep down you are that. You are that ocean of knowledge. You are that ocean of wisdom. And your consciousness is never really disconnected from it. So if you listen to your heart, then you may get clearer the feeling, not exactly words and thoughts and concepts, but the feelings, whether you are in harmony with it or whether there somehow needs to be something adjusted. It's something that has to gradually be developed. Those who have an external teacher, they have the advantage that they can go and ask their teacher, well, is it right, is it wrong, what I'm feeling, and then they may be guided. But this is not something one can necessarily produce, that relationship with an external teacher. So rely on your inner guidance as good as you can. And the faith is growing by practicing, by consciously connecting. And in the beginning, you may be very insecure about it, but as you go on and you start to feel and distinguish between what we are creating in our head, what we are thinking about it, and make conclusions, or what we deep down really feel. And sometimes you may start to feel deep down, it's pointing rather this side. And in the head, I'm saying, no, no, I don't want, I'm going right side. And then we persuade ourselves, I'm guided from within to go right side, not left side. But deep down, we always know, actually, everything there points, it's better to go this way and not go down that alley. But then somehow the mind may be not agreeing. But then bring your attention back again and again and see, here definitely I have been listening more to what I would like to hear instead of what I really felt. And if you do that again and again, then you feel it slowly better and better. And as you keep on feeling it better, then you keep on having more faith in it. That faith, that trust is not something you can artificially produce. It's a grace when it's there, but by practicing, it's gradually, the heart is opening more and more, and it's getting easier to feel. The mind will always come back and create insecurities, but here and but there, and so many things. But if you learn to not get stuck on that mental level and just feel deep down what you feel right now about this particular situation, about this question that I'm having in my mind, what I feel deep down about, and then learn to more and more act according to that, then the trust also comes. And even if you find yourself in difficult situation, then you can accept, okay, obviously this is something on my path that I have to face these difficult situations. It's not because I have made a mistake. That doesn't mean we have to forcibly push ourselves in difficult situations, but sometimes we may really follow that inner guidance, and it's true and pure, and still find ourselves in not a nice situation, and it's a good exercise to learn more about ourselves and become stronger and grow. Listen to your heart, and when you are insecure, And when you think, okay, my inner guidance tells me like this, check. Do I just produce that in my mind because I want it to be like this mentally? Or do I really from my heart feel it? And it comes with practice. As we are doing it again and again, we're getting more confidence.
Thank you, Werner.
You are welcome. Hari Om.
Nice to Hari.
Is there anybody else who would like to come in? Please come.
Hello, Werner.
Hello, Lutz. Ah, you are again out in space.
Some sort of.
I hardly hear you, Lutz.
You hardly hear me. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like this.
Oh,
is
yeah,
better.
yeah. Now I hear you much better.
Now, okay. So I had to make some adjustment. Anyway, I will do it now like this.
Yeah. If you have to somehow fix quick something, do it.
No. I mean, I can just hold it like
Okay.
this. It's no problem. Last time, Nelly was asking you how you could stand in your cave to be without nature and without sunlight.
Yes.
And then you said that you knew before you entered the cave how to connect to the sun and without actually seeing the sun. So I myself, I feel that also very important to kind of be in contact with the sun. The sunlight has a very uplifting quality on me. And if I imagine I would sit in a keller room without seeing the sun, it's really kind of a scary idea. And when I was visiting you in your cave those days, I was also wondering, how does he manage? But I did not really go deeper into the subject. It just occurred to my mind, and I was wondering, how can he manage? And now, because you were there days and weeks and months and years, so I mean, for some time it's okay. But yeah, so back to my question. I learned a little bit some techniques called sun gazing. That means you, with your open eye, you watch the sun, but you can do this only after sunrise and sunset, because otherwise you will hurt your eye. And in that way, kind of have a deeper connection with the sun somehow, and some energetic something is happening. I have some uplifting, energizing effect is happening. I've done that for some time, and sometimes I had some kind of positive effect on it. So it's basically something like staring very relaxed to the sun and opening your heart to it, or kind of also open some kind of emotional connection with it. And the effect it creates at times when it works is somehow you feel expanded, and there's some wonderful energy kind of manifesting in your being. And if you were sad before, then certainly you're not sad. You're not down in any way. So, but when I can do this, when I did this, sometimes it was working like this. But now we have November in Germany, and often the days are dark and cloudy, and the sunlight is short. So I would also like to know how you manage to connect with the sun without any kind of sight of the sun, and still getting the kind of healing effect it has, like sunlight. Most probably the healing effect is somewhat different than you looking at the sun or directly being touched by the sun rays, but still, I think you would do a good thing if you share your secret to all the poor northern hemisphere people who don't see the sun in the winter time. And yeah, if it's really truly going to the level of energizing the body, I think it's something wonderful. Yeah, if you can share that.
Right. I mean, at that time, I hadn't been doing any sun gazing. Now, after that, actually, the last 15 years, I have been doing a little sun gazing. Also, but not before I went to the cave. But what has helped me to maintain or to improve that relationship that I did every day, the sun salutation yoga exercise, the Surya Namaskara. But it's not because of those movements that you make a special connection with the sun, but somehow it helped me when I was doing this exercise to open the heart. And what I said last time to Nelly, then connecting as a being from one being to another, not as a human to something abstract up there in the sky called the sun, but the being, because the sun is a beautiful, loving being. And if you open your heart, then you get much more effect also when you are sun gazing. You can sun gaze and it does already energetically something, but the more you connect with that being, and what I found out, the more you feel some gratefulness that actually that wonderful being is keeping the solar system alive and keeping us alive. Without that, this whole way of living would not be possible. If that sense of gratefulness is there, then it's more easy to connect with the heart, and the more you connect with the heart, with that being sun, the more somehow you get automatically something very helpful, something that sustains you on all the levels, physical, energetically, emotionally, intellectually, spiritually. It's not a particular special technique that I have been using, but simply connecting. And it has helped me when I was in the cave, that for years before I have been doing the Surya Namaskaram every day, and always not simply doing the movements, but when doing that exercise, thinking of connecting with the sun. Then it was after that, when I didn't see the sun, easier to still connect. Because the visual connection is one thing, but the heart-to-heart connection with that being sun is something that is not dependent on the vision, but when you can see her at the same time, in English it's him, when you can see him at the same time, then it's for the mind a bit easier to connect and to open up. So I would recommend you, when you do your sun gazing, that you make a point of heart-to-heart communicating with the sun and feel that sense of gratefulness for all that life that it is pouring into you and into this world. That helps to connect. And then when it's cloudy, you can also do that, you look in the direction of the sun, even if the sun is behind the clouds, and you try to have that same contact with the sun, even if you don't really see the sun in the sky, but still you can, as a help, look in the direction of the sun. But then Eventually, you may also just sit in your room and not look anywhere and just connect, and you feel also in this way something very beautiful flows into your psychophysical system and sustains it, sustains the life, the living, the spark, the sparkling living presence there. So the sun is lightening not simply this physical plane, but also the subtle planes. As the physical sun brings physical light, so the sun has also subtle bodies like we have subtle bodies, and the sun subtle bodies, they also shine and can nourish your subtle bodies.
Yes, thank you for this very elaborate and beautiful explanation. I feel the intention and the openness from the heart are the key points to make it work. And
Right.
maybe this method can be extended to any kind of energetic interaction with the moon or the tree or whatever it is. Because
Exactly.
if the sun has some subtle being somehow, then also the other aspects of nature have that as well. But they may be there's of course a different effect than the sun. Most probably not this kind of strong effect like the sun. I don't know. Anyway, it's some beautiful field to explore and to try out.
Right, but you're right what you say. What I have been saying now about the sun, the same thing can be applied basically everywhere, and also between humans. But the more you have that attitude when you are in contact with humans, the more you automatically invoke something beautiful in those who communicate with you. And the more we are locking ourselves in our little bubble and send out negative emotions, the more it's likely that this kind of response also comes.
Wie es hereinschallt, so schallt's heraus.
Yeah.
This is a German word. How you call out, so it calls back, or something like this, freely translated.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Hari Om. Hari Om. Is there anybody else who would like to come in? Please come. Today now we have been talking about different techniques, practice, different ways of practice, different methods. And I remember one friend once came who has been with a teacher on tour, on Satsang tour. And the teacher is Neo-Advaita line teacher, which has its own special teachings. And he told me, anyhow, that teacher, and he was very sort of impressed by it, that teacher is not making any compromise, that with the statement that there is absolutely no method. And he found this is very impressive, because the teacher said there is absolutely no method that can do anything, that helps you to get closer to truth, to reality. And I'm talking about methods, I'm talking about practices, I'm talking about how much it helps. You know, I'm essentially agreeing with that teacher, with that neo-Advaitic teaching. You are already that. And of course, it goes without saying, there is no method, there is no practice, there is no technique to make you to become that. Because you are already that. It's not that you slowly have to become that essential divinity. You are that. So, of course, there is no method to become that. But that goes without saying. I mean, it's absurd to think of a method to become what we are already. But it's not that we have to essentially become what we already are. It's simply we have somehow or other coming already with a baggage, most probably, and then growing up in this world, we have covered up that purity of existence with so many things. And because of all those covers, we are not aware of that essential divinity, of that purity, of that beauty of existence. And somehow or other, if our conscious experience is locked in that me little bubble, and we start to get the idea there is so much more to existence, there is so much more to life than what can we do to become aware of that, then we are very well informed, instructed. Okay, then find a way, find methods to become aware. What are the obstacles? The sadhana, the practice is not to become something. The sadhana, the practice is to become aware what all the obstacles that are there to that pure natural way of existing. And then in that awareness, gradually remove those obstacles. And it's completely nonsense to say that there are no methods. The methods, they are helping. It doesn't matter really what method. People are different. One is attracted to one thing, one is attracted to another thing. The methods, the techniques, they are just crutches for the mind to make it easier to stay on the track. A mind that doesn't have something to hold on to has the tendency to always go off all over the place and lose the basic essential intent that is there. And if we have something to hold on to, some practice, some method, some technique, then it's being made much easier. It's good to be aware that it's not the details of the technique that is so important. It's not, the point of the technique is not to become an adept, a master of that technique. The point of the technique is simply to give a help, to make it easier to keep the attention on the essential track. With a technique, it's easier to come back again and again when the attention goes off to just the essential approach of bringing the attention to that essence, that life, that consciousness, that love of existence that makes the experience possible. There is no method, there is no technique to become that. You are that. You never have been something else. But somehow we are hypnotized, we are dreaming, and there are methods that help us to wake up from that dream. There are methods to help us to de-hypnotize ourselves from how we are experiencing, how we are feeling, how we are thinking, how we are reacting, how we are reacting, how we are creating always that current of karma. If in reality, we need not do that. So if people tell you the methods, the techniques, the practices, they are all useless, they cannot possibly help, sorry, but they don't know what they are talking about. I agree with them that there is no method, there is no technique to become the self, no method, no technique to become divine, no method, no technique to become that birthless, deathless, timeless, spaceless, beingness, because you are that all the time. But there are definitely practices, definitely methods, definitely techniques that can help us to bring the attention back to that until it's just a natural way of existing. Then maybe these techniques are not more necessary. But sometimes great masters who are deeply rooted in that, they still will continue practicing something or other for their own purposes that are not necessarily so easily visible, to harness energy to do something positive, creative in this world, to inspire their followers to practice those techniques. So don't you, when you listen to such talks, when you read such teachings, don't you let yourself get distracted from the path you are on, from the practices you are doing. These practices, they are very helpful to help to see the obstacles that we have already been carrying along for a long time, and the obstacles that we have the tendency to create and recreate all the time. It certainly helps. For that, methods are helpful, techniques are helpful. Okay, I've been talking again all by myself. Is there anybody who would like to come in? Please come in.
Hello, Werner.
Hello, I hear far away a voice.
Oh, is it? Do you hear me now?
I hear you somewhat. I don't see anybody.
Oh,
Can you turn the camera on?
oh, the camera is on. I just have another laptop.
I see.
I'm sorry, the voice is also bad.
Now I see you and hear you.
Okay, it took some time.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, talking about techniques. I have tried a lot of techniques the last days because I started for myself. I decided to do a meditation retreat in my home.
Mm-hmm.
And also with no contact with the outside world. And I told my families and friends that I'm retreating. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because my meditation practice up to now is maybe at most 5 minutes a day. And I thought it can't be. Why is it not possible to do more? So I said, okay, now I try. Because it's easy for me if I'm with people, or when I've been in your place and was sitting in silence, it was wonderful. It was so nice, yeah. And at home, I do my 5 Tibetan exercises and some sound healing. And then it's very quiet, just for a few minutes, at the most 5. And then I just get up because I don't want to hear all this mind chatter. And for me, I think this is not meditation, and I have no patience to try to come back to the breath or anything. But anyway, so I also was thinking often, how could you sit so long, days in, days out? Why can't I do it? And so that's what I'm doing since last Sunday. But it's just not possible in a way to sit quiet for myself. So I started doing the active meditations from Osho.
Yeah.
Which works, because then I'm dancing or whatever, humming or whatever it is. And then in the silent part, it's kind of bearable silence, more silent.
Yeah.
And but now that what you talked about meditation, I thought maybe I have a wrong idea about what it is, because I'm expecting really this silence, and I just want that, and maybe that's the wrong idea. I'm not sure.
It's not the wrong idea, but that doesn't mean you have to sit on your bum the whole day long like I have been doing. Your story is your story, and my story is my story. And that's what I wanted. That's my way how to go about it. And somehow I had the help and the grace that I could do it and continue doing it. Simply because that was the natural way for me to approach. If you would try to do that and it's not your thing, then you would do yourself more harm than help yourself. And the meditation is not sitting on your backside with your legs crossed and your eyes somehow up to the sky or something. Meditation is bringing the attention back to the essence. And if you can do it better by moving, then do it while moving or by walking meditation. But it's helpful if you have periods, as you had now, where you are less distracted, or when you are more in your usual day-to-day life and have a lot of interactions with people, that you have your daily time where you are less distracted, that you can put your undivided attention on that, on being alive, on being conscious, on being here, now, in that love of existence. But how we are doing it, it doesn't really matter. It helps if you find a way that you don't have to exert yourself too much. I mean, you mentioned Osho's practices, and they are often quite wild. For a moment, that is okay. If there is a lot of tension there, you can puff them out, but then you should also become more quiet in your movements, that you can become more aware. I mean, people who try to meditate a lot and then they couldn't, they found, for example, the possibility of doing Tai Chi and Qigong and becoming in that way aware and having in that way a meditative approach without sitting much or at all. So meditation doesn't mean to sit down and cross your legs. Meditation means to connect. And when you do a retreat, then it's helpful to just remind you to connect, no matter what you're doing. But it doesn't mean that you have to force yourself to sit and sit and sit. You can do that for some time. People go to these 10 days meditation retreats, and many of them are not used to sit so much, but when they are in the group, then somehow or other they aching through the whole thing. But after that, usually they will reduce their practice a lot, but still somehow get the benefit from having pushed themselves for a short time. But you cannot do that on and on and on if that is not your thing to do. It was just my thing, so that's what I did. Then that doesn't mean if you do it differently, then that's less okay. The the crucial factor is not how much you sit, the crucial factor is how much you are capable of reminding yourself to bring your attention back in touch with the source, with that source of where the attention is coming from, with that source of that which makes all the experiences possible.
Yes. Yeah, I'm also doing more the soft meditations, like slow movement, things
Yes.
like that.
Yes.
And no, I just thought that I would like to be able to do at least half an hour a day. So I thought maybe if I do now like 5 hours a day, later I will be able to do a bit more. Yeah.
Well, you can do that now when you are in your retreat. Also, after that, you just sit until you feel uncomfortable. I mean, as long as you make a retreat, you can then do that repeatedly. But then sit until you really feel uncomfortable and then stop it. And you see how much time has passed. And then the next day you tell yourself, okay, I'm sitting like yesterday, but just a little more. And a little more time. And then the next day again a little more time. It can be very, very little. That every day you just increase 1 minute. And then eventually maybe you will sit half an hour and feel quite okay with it. Like that you can increase the sitting time somewhat if you just give yourself time to gradually, gently increase. Now in your retreat time, is the retreat finished now, or are you going to continue like this?
Till Monday. Yeah.
Oh, 1 more day. Right. There you can push a little more, that you make that attempt maybe more than once a day. But don't torture yourself.
No, I'm just too lazy. I was only doing like 2, 3, maximum 5 minutes. So, you know, like it was uncomfortable and already after a few minutes. So I just get up and I thought this, yeah, but now I see it's possible if I decided now. I sit quite a lot now, but with a lot of active meditation also.
Right, right. So when your retreat is over, you are again more in an active mode. Then, and you do your daily meditation, and it comes back that after 5 minutes you just want to stop. Then you say, okay, for today it's 5 minutes. And then you practice something more, walking meditation or whatever you are doing. And the next day you come back and say, okay, today I'm doing 6 minutes. And if after 5 minutes you feel like getting up, then you don't get up and wait until the 6 minutes are over. And then the next day you say, okay, today I'm doing 7 minutes. And if 7 minutes is very hard, then the day after that you still say, okay, I'm still staying with 7 minutes. But then eventually you say, okay, today I'm doing 8 minutes, and even if after 4 minutes you feel like I want to jump up, then you just keep sitting until the 8 minutes are over. Like that, it's not that you are somehow doing yourself any harm. If you gradually, gently increase like this, and so eventually you can come to your half an hour, and you will suddenly become aware, oh, it's no big deal, I can sit half an hour. You could sit half an hour when you were sitting here on the rooftop.
Yes, I actually always wanted to ask you if it is not possible somehow to do such a meditation together online. Because when we are here together, it's it's a different energy, and I don't know if it's possible, but I could imagine that it works. I don't know.
There are so many meditations offered online. People have asked me whether I couldn't do that, and somehow I don't feel so far like doing it. It feels totally right that we are talking together, and I mean many people listening mainly sit in a meditative state while we are talking here. But to do an official formal meditation class online, somehow I don't feel that's what I have to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've recorded one session in India, and I've recorded the silence also.
Yeah.
And yeah, one time I tried to listen to this silence, and actually it worked, but maybe it was just my idea, but I'm not trying. Yeah.
Anyhow, you can find there are so many meditations offered online now. If you feel like doing that with others. Now, just before, Dial has written a message in it and said, good idea. Right. I mean, if you feel amongst the people who are attending the satsang to somehow connect and do that with each other, maybe you can create a Zoom space where you are meeting each other and meditating with each other.
Okay, it's an idea.
Yeah. Somehow I don't feel like that's what I have to do, this online meditation class. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for your answers.
Okay, Hari Om. Hari Om. Is there anybody else who would like to come in?
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Hello, is it Ben?
Yes.
Yes, Ben. Hello, Ben.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
I hardly hear you.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Just double check. No, but I'm not sure I can.
Maybe the volume on your computer has to turn up or something. I hear you from far away. Now I don't hear anything anymore. I don't know whether you still hear me. Now your image also is frozen and I cannot hear anything. Now I see you again. You are moving, but I still don't hear you. Do you have an earphone that you can connect with your device? Because then the microphone of the earphone may work.
Yeah. 1 second.
Now I heard you.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Is it better now?
Now I hear you clearly.
Okay, great. Perfect. Oh, this is great. Okay. Yeah. Well, I don't really have a specific question. I just felt the call to come in and connect with you because it's always such a special moment.
You're welcome. Where are you?
I'm in France with Marlene. We are at my parents' house.
Oh,
and,
back again.
back again. Yeah. During the confinements, we happened to end up here.
Yeah.
And maybe I can just share a little bit about my practice lately.
Yeah.
For now, a bit over 2 months, I've naturally started to wake up very early in the morning, like 4:30 or 5 o'clock, and meditate for at least an hour, hour and a half sometimes outside. And this is new for me, and it's been very special to wake up before the sunrise. I feel there is a special energy that helps me be very calm, even before the birds start to wake up and the activity of the world. I can feel really the shift. And this morning practice has been, I've really enjoyed it. It really feels like meaningful to wake up and do this practice. So I'm not so sure what triggered that. I did stop as I turned 35 years old in August. I decided to not have any coffee and alcohol this year. And so I can imagine that, because then it started about a month and a half after that maybe I just need less sleep, and I'm able to wake up and be more awake in the morning like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have been trying also a bit of a technique. This was a topic today, so I've been listening to Joe Dispenza. He teaches a type of meditation with a lot of visualization, and he talks about kind of bringing those
quantum physicist, huh? The quantum
yes.
physicist. Yeah.
Yes.
The
Yes.
scientist. Yeah, right.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And he talks about bringing those elevated emotions. So to a little bit kind of create this state of love or compassion or bliss, and focusing on certain. I've been doing this pineal gland activation meditation.
Yeah.
Which, and yeah, I'm enjoying that, to try this technique. I always then spend some time with no technique at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you feel that's helping you, then by all means continue like this.
Okay.
As I said before, it doesn't really matter what we are doing.
Sure.
If what we are doing helps us to be more alert in the present, better connected with the source, then the technique is fine, no matter what it is, no matter where it comes from. And you are right, the early morning is a very beautiful time for that. It's traditional in India that the sadhak should get up early. They call it the Brahma Muhurtam, the most auspicious time of the day for practice. If one can do that, if one feels like doing that, then it's certainly a help. If one cannot, for one reason or another, then that doesn't mean you cannot do the same thing any other time. But it is true. Simply already because, as you said, the world is not yet active. It's not yet awake. So there's a lot of silence there that after that is being disturbed by so much activity. But it's great if you can do that, and if it comes easy and spontaneous, that's a wonderful help. But people who cannot do so should not despair, because you can do the same practice also later and create for yourself that silent space, even if the world is not equally silent.
Sure. And with this form of guided meditation, as in listening to something for some time, you, as long as it feels that it's a helpful tool for some time, is it also fine to?
I have absolutely no objection to anything that helps. And if that guided meditation helps you to be more meditative, to somehow go deeper, and you feel for yourself in your heart that's the right thing to do, then it is the right thing to do. Yeah. There is a lot of simple meditation where you just have one little thing to do and basically just stay in silence and stay with the essence as good as you can. And then there are a lot of quite elaborate guided meditations where you're doing a lot of visualizations and, as you said, bringing up emotions. It's more like in the Christian tradition, they were called the Exerzitien. Well, in German, Exerzitien. I don't know in English exercises, but actually that many monks used to do so, that being guided by somebody, going through all kinds of emotions and learn to get out of them and learn to transform them. These are very helpful exercises if one feels attracted to. If one doesn't feel attracted to, then it's not the thing to do. But if you feel a resonance in you, then it's perfectly fine.
Yeah, I feel that it somehow also helps me get a sense of not just doing the meditation really just for myself, but as with a bit more of a universal kind of intention, and so I get a bit more of that feeling of expansion beyond my story ego self, and that's it feels more expensive.
Good.
Yeah.
So by all means, continue with it. as long as you feel it's helpful. Maybe at a certain time you come to the conclusion it has done its job, and now
Right.
it's time to go on. But as long as you feel it's what you described just now, that it's helpful in that way, then by all means continue with it. It's certainly a good thing to do.
Fantastic. Thank you, Werner.
You're welcome.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Anybody else? If anybody wants to come in, please come.
Hello, Werner.
Hello, Vivian.
Hello.
I see you, I hear you.
Perfect. I don't really know where my question goes, but I maybe just
Let's
share
see.
how I feel. Yes. Until a few months ago or weeks ago, I always had this feeling that I am some kind of a spiritual person, or I would kind of practice, and I was engaged in things, or was believing in things, and this kind of now all falls away, and I don't really see, like, I have more questions than answers, and I don't really, like, until now I could kind of explain things, or if I had a question, I could do something, I could do a practice, or I could kind of go, I had a strategy kind of to move around.
Yeah.
And now I have no idea what I'm doing, what I'm supposed to, it's just, everything is kind of, I can't even hold on to this idea of being someone who has an idea of, or have a spiritual experience. Yeah, I mean, my ideas also of spiritual practice changed so much that I feel like, yeah, I mean, it can be helpful, but it's not like what are we doing? Like it's like how I was thinking of engaging in yoga or in other spiritual practices. I feel like it's not even, it's not bringing me probably somewhere. So I can't do it and hold on to it. And somehow these questions, or not having an answer, to be with questions and not do anything, it makes me kind of sad. And I was wondering maybe mainly about the sadness, if this is, why does it make me sad that I don't have an idea or a plan, or I cannot grasp myself anymore as I could? And why is there a sadness with it?
Are you still teaching yoga?
Yes.
Yeah. And
it's not so easy because of Corona, because people are scared, and it's but
you have to keep distance.
But it's luckily it's possible they can still practice without mask, but I'm wearing one.
Yeah. And you are practicing yoga for yourself still, or just when you teach?
No, I do it for like physical health more, but I don't feel I need it to have like clarity of mind or concentration.
Yeah. And you feel that security that you had as a spiritual person that is waning away and are not more so sure about knowing all. How to the strategy, and why are you getting sad? Because it's like you sort of leaving a home.
6:40.
Somebody is Mariana, I think you should turn off your microphone. You are a bit interfering. Vivian, can you say something? Then you come in the picture again.
Yes.
Yeah, there you are.
Did it work? Okay.
Yeah. The second yes worked. So it's a bit like moving out of a space where you have been living in for some time, a nice room, a nice house, finding a new place, being in a way happy that you're moving out, that you're moving to a new space, a new adventure, but then sometimes there is also a bit sadness there for leaving back the familiar space. And a similar thing is happening with you now, that you are moving on in your experience, and that old space where you felt a sadhak, a spiritual person, quite confident and quite comfortable with that, somehow you become aware you have to go get out of that comfort zone. And then sometimes sadness may come, but then you don't think something is wrong if sadness comes. Then just let the sadness come. And don't fight the sadness, let the sadness be there, experience the sadness, observe the sadness, what it is doing. Then it's not a bad thing. We simply think it's something wrong, it's something bad, and then it becomes big and a problem. But otherwise, if you can see, okay, things are changing, and the process of change may also invoke sadness sometimes, that familiar parts we have been sort of comfortable in it are fading away, are dropping off, then they may create sadness for some time, but then let the sadness come, experience the sadness. If we don't resist sadness, then it's not a bad experience. It doesn't prevent you from keeping on. Simply if after that we think, I must have done something wrong, that's why I'm sad, and then it becomes an obstacle, because then we start to create again a whole story around it.
Yeah.
But if you don't do that, then it's not a problem that sometimes you feel sad. It's bound to come when sometimes old comfort zones start to disintegrate, then all kinds of emotions may accompany the process.
Mm-hmm. And as you describe it, it feels, when I'm able to hold it and or just to simply be with it, it's not only like heaviness, but it's also warmth, and I feel deeply connected.
Yes.
But then also, you know, maybe sometimes feelings of fear would come because I cannot hold on to anything. I have no. It feels like I have no solid ground, and to be able to be with the questions and not kind of to live into the answers maybe, and to hold its space. I think it has patience, because I am not at the place in my life now. I mean, I started to come back home because of Corona, and because of, yeah, at some point I had to come home and not be in India all the time. You know, I had to kind of and I want to grow myself roots and to be here, but there is not, I don't have a job yet which I can fully live from. So things are in a process, it feels.
Yes.
And yeah, that I don't really know where I will end up, because
Yeah.
I used to believe that I only do things that are in my definition something like spiritual, or at least helpful for society, and I don't want to really be in this capitalist system. But now I could probably, even if it's helpful in some way, you know, like all these ideas I had, they're not even here anymore, like this good and bad.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, when you don't resist against the fact of not knowing, then it becomes a very exciting way of living.
Ah, yes.
we have that idea, we have to have it all sort of planned out. It gives us the idea of being in control, but actually it's an illusion. We are not. Most of the time we are not at all in control. But as long as we have that idea, I'm in control, I know the answer to the questions, I know what I'm going to do, I know what is right for my life, I know what is not right for my life, then it gives that security, but it is also limiting. It's a space. It's that comfort zone that you are moving out of, and you will start to become more and more aware that you don't need to know. Whatever little knowledge you need in the present moment, it's simply there. And beyond that, you don't really need to know any damn thing.
This moves me deeply when what you're just saying. Really, yeah. Thank you so much.
You are most welcome.
Thank you.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Thank you.
Is there anybody else who would like to come in? We have a few more minutes if we want to. Hello, Helen.
Hello, Werner. Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you very well.
Oh, good. Okay. I was also moved by what last minute of what you said to Vivian.
Yeah.
And it's about resistance. It's like spiritual practice for me is just thing, because it feels like trying, and it feels when I'll try that, maybe I'll try that, it feels like a tension in the body, and it just feels like it's trying to be something that I essentially already am. And when I understand for a second that I am none of what I believe myself to be, that's my spiritual practice. It's like the only thing I do now is I get up in the morning, my mind is hammering, I'll make a cup of tea, I'll light a tea light on my shrine, and I just wait until mind clears, and there's a sense I'm not none of what I believe myself to be, and there's such a sense of gratitude,
Yeah,
a sense of freeing, and I just wanted to say thank you for reminding me.
you're welcome.
Yeah.
I mean, people are different. For many people, it's helpful to have a solid practice, a solid technique, and then just repeat it over and over and over and over again, day after day, week after week, year after year. And it can be very helpful, and for other people this doesn't quite work. Somehow or other, you're practicing when you are alert, when you bring your attention back to that alertness of being in the present. And if you can do that just like this, then that's perfectly well. You don't need any other practice.
I don't have to beat myself up for not practicing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you back in your mother's place?
Yes, I'm back in my mother's place.
Yeah, so you're already quite busy there.
Yes, yes.
Right, right.
Yeah, so I don't have much time to practice either.
Yeah.
The biggest thing for me is resistance to
Yes.
what is.
Yeah.
And once that resistance drops, then I reconnect with myself. But I was actually going to ask a question about resistance, but as you were talking during the satsang, it just melted away, really.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And I just want to say thank you for this space that we have with you, because something just happens. Yeah.
Right. Nice. Wonderful. So you need not ask any questions. The knowledge what you need comes, the more than knowledge, the conviction out of your experiencing directly comes all by itself. Huh? That's
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it does help to connect with satsang. I don't have to speak with you, but something just happens.
Yeah.
And I listened to another satsang, online satsang as well, with Ananta, who is a disciple of Muji.
Yeah.
And it's not easy, but this inner guru, inner voice, it's yeah. I can't say it's easy, but it's happening within extreme chaos.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Fine. Wonderful. Continue like this. Oops. Now I don't know.
Werner?
Can you still hear me?
For a moment it was frozen, and now it's moving again.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I just wanted to say thank you, and yeah, that's yeah, just to connect with you.
You're welcome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wonderful. It's nice to have that space. It's nice to have that opportunity. I'm very happy that it exists, even if it's digital. there is more to it, and that sense of connection is there. We do have that space, and during this satsang, you have heard, I was asked whether I would make meditations, but then I don't feel like doing online meditations, but being together in this space is in itself a meditation. And you just confirm it, that basically you had questions about something, and then in course of the satsang, it started to clear up all by itself, even when we were not talking about that subject.
Yes, yes.
Right. Very nice. Great.
Hari Om.
Hari Om, Hari Om. I think we are just finishing. Is there somebody who has something urgent to come in? Otherwise, we just stop the official satsang for today. Yes, that's what we are doing. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn off the recording.